I think we're looking at kind of a 30-year war kind of history here, in which it's going to take a long time to be able to go after these elements.
Welcome back to MidPoint. Also welcome back the former Deputy Assistant to Vice President Dick Cheney for National Security Affairs, Stephen Yates. Stephen, we just heard Leon Panetta. He has said this now in support of his new book where he's talking about a 30-year war. Is he being perhaps even a little judicious in that this may be a war that will take longer than 30 years simply because of the type of enemy that we're facing and the way that they are fanatical in their beliefs?
Well, he's sounding a lot more similar with each passing day to the people who are writing, I think, thoughtfully about this in the post 9/11 environment, where we had a lot of people talking about a generational struggle or generational conflict. It's not necessarily because we want this to drag on a long ways, but because the people on the other side of this conflict have been planning and preparing for a very, very long time. They've got the infrastructure in place to grind away in small, medium, and large ways, depending on our response, for a very long time. So I think it's realistic to think about this kind of a threat being a long-term one that we need to be prepared for, but it need not take us 30 years to step up and figure out how to protect and degrade this kind of capability. And we ought to begin with being able to call an enemy by its name. It's Islamism, and it has violence attached to it, and until we can come to that point, we're really not going to have a strategy to degrade it.
You just mentioned the word Islamism. Is it time then for America to understand we need to drop the political correctness? This is a world and this is a war that simply thrives on political correctness, and the more we continue to use it, the more the enemy is emboldened, knowing that they can basically get away with anything, knowing the American ideal of PC.
I believe that completely. Really, these people that are the enemy, take the Islamic State at the moment, they have a hostage in queue to be executed who's converted to Islam. So they're prepared to kill anyone. They don't really have feelings for any of the victims. They are just trying to engage in terror theater to try to keep us from honoring our obligations to our own national security and those of our allies, and to basically dare us to leave them alone to build their strength, believing that if we play nice with them, they won't eventually strike us here at home. I find no reason to follow that logic to its conclusion and test their will and their humanity. I think they've basically crossed over and they aren't part of civilization when they've engaged in this kind of behavior, and we have to treat them with the only language that they understand, which is power and violence.
But I guess the big question now then comes to America, Stephen. In your opinion, are the American people then able to handle it? If a president or someone stood in front of them and said, we are going to go against this enemy, we are going to use everything at our disposal, we are going to kill this enemy, and we are going to stop them before they kill us. There seems to be a feeling that America could not handle it, and we are shielding Americans from the truth.
America in history would say that the answer to the question is yes, but it's only after American people are appropriately led. They need to be spoken to by a commander-in-chief who has taken charge, has credibility, who has brought with him significant support from the Congress that has also been brought around to understand the nature of the challenge and is on the same page. We basically need to have leadership before the country is ready to take those kind of risks. And that's not illogical, really, because half measures in this kind of a conflict can be very, very dangerous too. And so I think that there is a degree of American skepticism of the effectiveness of our leadership holding us back from taking on a large conflict. But I think that sensible people would see that conflict is upon us, and it's now up to us to figure out how to organize and meet it. And ideally, as President Bush said, whether people want to love him or hate him, he was correct. We need to meet it overseas before it builds and gathers ability here on our shores.
I got about 30 seconds left. Is it then looking at the midterms that people have to realize that perhaps it would be good for the Republicans to take control of the Congress, to take full control here, because would these be the people then who would be willing to speak to the nation frankly and tell them what they're facing and force a president to get something done?
Well, over the last decade or so, I would say that that is the side of American politics that has spoken up on behalf of national security. There's been a lot of doubt in the middle of the last decade, given the experience with the Iraq War when things were going badly. So really, I think it's up to leaders in both parties to sober up to this challenge and lead the people. I think that a Republican takeover of the Senate would be a good check on the president and hopefully push him in the right direction.
I think you used the good phrase there where you said sober up. It's time for everybody to do that in every branch of government. Stephen Yates, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll look forward to the next time.
Thank you, Ed.
All right, later on this hour, is it time for conservatives to realize they may indeed lose the battle against gay marriage? And after the break, is the Pope about to radically change the direction of the Catholic Church? People are asking. We'll give you some answers when we continue right here on MidPoint, where we question everything.